Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Continuing our reading of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 19, entitled The Lord Instructs, Srila Rupa Goswami. Text number 220, 220. So we're starting on an explanation of more detail on Dasya Rasa today. So yeah, the last 2 or 3 sessions talking about some details about Shanta Rasa. So just a little recap on that. So the last one was saying that so they've achieved their knowledge of the constitutional position as a soul. So they fully know they're not the body, that they're a spirit soul. In this position of Shanta Rasa, this situation, is a lot of gyan they have. So they have a lot of gyan. They have gyan about the soul and gyan about Brahman, the impersonal, all-pervading energy, and gyan about Paramatma. But they haven't began yet with their eternal loving relationship with Krishna. They're sort of sitting on the fence. So they're in between the material world and full spiritual activity. So nearly there, but they haven't yet began to render service to Krishna yet in this position. And we had examples previously of the 4 Kumaras. Previously, they were in that Shantaras platform, and then they progressed to having a loving relationship of this Dasiras. And also the 9 Yogendras, also Shantaras devotees, and also Shukadeva Goswami was on that Shantaras Rasa platform, and then he progressed also into having a relationship with the Lord, like that. So yeah, a lot of yarn, but as mentioned here, no intimate relationship on that Shantaras platform. There's no kind of exchanges yet. So there's no, as we know, love has to be at least 2 individuals, and there's give and take there. So they're serving each other, those 2 or more individuals, and then you have a relationship. But they're not doing that yet. There's no exchange yet of service between the lover and the beloved yet. So, but a lot of jnana. Free from material miseries, as we heard before, does anyone remember the 2 characteristics of Shantaras? What's the 2 characteristics?
That they are fully surrendered. Sorry.
You go ahead.
That they are fully surrendered to Lord Krishna. And
No. No.
no. Okay.
No.
Okay. And I'm not answering.
You're a jnani, a speculator.
We are all in some way, I guess. But, I think I remember one is attachment to Paramatma, or to kind of impersonal feature of Bhagwan, I guess. That's what I remember.
So they're attached to God. They're attached to God, yes.
And then material desires are 0, I think, is something like that.
And they're detached from material desires. So yeah, they're detached from sense enjoyment, material desires, from the material world, and they're attached to the spiritual, but they haven't got a full comprehension of the spiritual yet. Maybe definitely Brahman, maybe Paramatma also, but not fully Bhagavan yet. So, and therefore they haven't surrendered to Krishna. But yeah, they haven't understood. They're definitely attached to God, but exactly what realization of God is probably not complete. Brahman, Brahman is also God realization, Paramatma is God realization, but Bhagavan is the full realization of God. As we know, God has three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So not necessarily someone is God realized. That doesn't necessarily mean they've realized Krishna. They might just have realized Brahman or Paramatma. So they're at that stage. They haven't got the full picture yet of what is the absolute truth. The absolute truth is known in three phases: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Okay, so let's recite 220. Ishvara Jnana Sambrama Gaurava Prachura Seva Kari Krishna Sukha Dena Nirantara.
Ishwar Jnana
Sambrahma
Prachura
Seva Kari Krishna Sukha Dena Nirantara.
On the Dasya Ras platform, knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed with awe and veneration. By rendering service unto the Lord, the devotee in Dasya Ras gives constant happiness to the Lord.
Okay, so what's some points in this verse that's brought up? What have we learned in this verse?
Knowledge of Supreme Personality of Godhead is okay. So it's in personal form, is awe and veneration, basically. In rendering service to Krishna.
That by rendering service, the devotee is giving constant happiness to the Lord.
Yeah. So this is different than the Shantarasa because Shantarasa mentioned that there's knowledge of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, right? But it didn't mention Bhagavan. But this one mentions knowledge, also knowledge, but knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So knowledge of Bhagavan. So there's a difference there. So there's more knowledge. There's more knowledge in this Dasya Rasa. So a devotee in the Dasya Rasa has more knowledge than the Shantarasa. Shantarasa has knowledge of Brahman and possibly Paramatma, but not Bhagavan. But the Dasya Rasa Bhakta has knowledge of Brahman, Paramatma also, but of Bhagavan. So more complete knowledge of all the three aspects of the absolute truth. However, that knowledge of Krishna is knowledge of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is causing them to have the awe and reverence. So, and we read about that before, right? There's two kinds of attachment. So there's attachment with awe and reverence, and then there's attachment which is spontaneous attachment without any awe and reverence. So they have this attachment with the awe and reverence. With the awe and reverence. Yeah. And which is the Bengali for that they've got is Sambrahma Gaurava, awe and reverence. And so they have knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which causes them awe and reverence. And so here's where the service starts. So they're rendering service to Krishna. So they have knowledge of Krishna, and then they're rendering service to Krishna. It's not possible, obviously, to render service to Krishna without having knowledge of Krishna. So they have knowledge of Krishna, and then they're surrendering to Krishna and engaging in his service. Mm. And this service that the devotee in Dasarasa is giving to Krishna gives constant happiness to the Lord. So the devotee is constantly serving the Lord, and the Lord is constantly happy by that service. By that service. And this is the beginning of our constitutional position. This is what we're really made to do. The soul is made for this purpose of giving happiness to the Lord by serving the Lord. And this is real happiness, not only for the Lord, but for the soul. The soul becomes completely happy by giving service, and the Lord is completely happy by receiving that service. And the Lord is receiving that service, and He is also serving the devotee. So it's love is, of course, a two-way exchange. It's not one way. Even now in the material world, without us doing service to the Lord is serving us. He's giving us all the necessities of our life, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, the sunlight, our bodies, everything is provided by the Lord, is arranging so many things, a place for us to stay, and all of our needs. So the Lord is, as the Father of all living entities, is serving all of His children. So there's no question that He loves us. He always loves us, even when we're completely in forgetfulness of Him. But this is nice when we get back to doing some service for the Lord. He's always serving us, like I said, but this is wonderful. The Lord is extra pleased when we start up our loving relationship with the Lord and serving Him. Would anyone like to say anything about any of that?
Is this the constitutional position we are in, right? I mean, that's the real relationship.
Yeah.
Master.
Yeah. See, for the Shantaras, it said this 219.
Yeah, one realizes.
Oh yeah, Swarupa Jnana. That's what I was noticing in the verse, in the word for word. It's 219. Swarupa Jnana. So they have knowledge of the constitutional position of oneself. But there's a difference between knowing your constitutional position and acting in your constitutional position. So they have theoretical knowledge of the constitutional position. I'm a spirit soul. But in the Dasiras, you're acting on that knowledge of a spirit soul. So what is the spirit soul supposed to do? Okay, I know I'm a spirit soul, very good. But then the next step is, well, what does a spirit soul do? A spirit soul serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serves Krishna. So yeah, they have that Swarupa Gyan. So Swarupa means your constitutional position, your original form as a spirit soul. But then the devotee is acting, has got practical, realization of that Swarupa by acting in devotional service. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So they have Ishvara Gyan, the Dasya Bhakta Ishvara Gyan, so they also have Gyan, but the difference is their seva. So in the 220 is the first time seva is mentioned. And this is our real nature in practice, that we do seva for Krishna.
Hey Prabhu, this might sound like a stupid question, but Prabhupada wanted us to read the Caitanya Charitamrita, but I guess my question is, why do we need to learn about all these different rasas if Like, is it so that we can have a goal, or so we can know where we're situated, or what we've got to do, or, you know, because like it's pretty obvious that like it'd be hard to even reach that Shantaras for me in this lifetime. So like why do we learn about all these things? Is it
Well, I mean,
not
like
that
I
I don't
mentioned,
enjoy not that I don't enjoy learning about it, I do, but I just
yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder, yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Prabhupada wanted
No,
us to.
that's a good question. It's not a stupid question. It's a very nice question. Well, like I mentioned, the amazing thing is, which is quite inconceivable how it's happened, is that in one sense we're ahead of the Shantaras already because we're doing service. And don't think we're not doing service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are. Because the deity in the temple is not just a statue, or even if you have pictures in your house, that's not just an ordinary picture. It's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that arch called Archa Vigraha or Archa Murti. So that's the Supreme Lord. And even the holy name itself is absolutely 100% non-different from the Supreme Lord. So, you know, we're chanting every day. I mean, you're rendering service to the Supreme Person of Godhead, which the Shanta Bhakta is not doing. So, in one sense, you're already beyond Shantarasa. But this is where it gets a bit inconceivable and contradictory. But the two characteristics of Shantarasa, which is completely detached from all material enjoyment, no material desires, and completely attached to God, to you know, the Brahman realization and everything. We don't probably have that. So, and as I mentioned, I'm sure that's the only reason why we're able to render service to the Supreme Person of Godhead is the mercy of great devotees like Srila Prabhupada has brought the lowest of persons far below Shantarasa, Malechas and Yavanas, up to the platform of servants of the Supreme Person of Godhead like that. But we haven't really fully realized it, I don't think. I think the penny hasn't fully dropped what our good fortune is. What our good
Yeah,
fortune, we haven't fully realized it. We're sort of going in and out of material consciousness and spiritual consciousness, oscillating between. Like I mentioned on Thursday, we're not steady yet. We're not nishta. We haven't achieved that nishta platform. We're not fixed on that spiritual platform. So we dip in and out of material consciousness and Krishna consciousness. But we're actually greatly fortunate that we can have an opportunity to render service to the Supreme Person of Godhead. I heard a lecture Prabhupada say today that even you clean the temple, he said this is service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even just a simple thing like and I think most of us have done some service like that. I know even Narendra was saying one time, I think on Janmashtami or something, you were cutting up veggies in the kitchen, right? Washing pots or whatever. So that's still you did. You still can't minimize that one time as special. Krishna definitely hasn't forgotten that one time he saw you in Gopinath's kitchen there, preparing for his birthday celebration. So yeah, we're greatly fortunate. But yeah, why all this knowledge isn't necessary? Yeah, because we need to, as and I think I mentioned on Thursday, unless we hear about the spiritual world and the devotees and the relationship with God and the spiritual world and that, then how are we going to become attracted to the spiritual world? Why are we so attracted to the material world? Because that's all we hear about. We like we were talking about on Thursday too. we listen to all this mundane talk, Prajalpa, Grammy Guitar, all this newspapers and TV and social media, and we're always hearing about, eating and sleeping and mating and, all these kind of things, and clothing and makeup and blah, 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 and politics and so forth. So that's our mind is absorbed in those things. But we need to transfer our absorption from the material to the spiritual. So we've got to start hearing about the spiritual world. Otherwise, how are we ever going to, like what this Shantarasa Bhakta has achieved? He's detached from the material world and attached to the spiritual. How is that possible? Because of the gyan, because he has knowledge, so he's cutting off his senses from material things. So the Shantaras Bhakta is not going to be on social media for 3 hours a day, and watching TV and looking at the billboards and everything. It's going to be absorbed in hearing, about Brahman or about Paramatma or maybe Lucky, Bhagavan. So that's how it begins. Our transfer of our consciousness from the mundane to the spiritual, we have to be hearing, and that's why 9 processes of bhakti yoga, first and foremost, is Shravanam. We have to be hearing. That's how we get the gyan. That's how we get the knowledge, by hearing. And then, why did Rukmini have such a strong desire to marry Krishna and nobody else? Because she was just hearing about Krishna from saintly people like Narada Muni would come to the palace that she was in, her father's palace. And then just by hearing, she developed a desire that I only want to marry Krishna and nobody else. So this is so important, that we need this knowledge, that every human being should be injected with this knowledge of the spiritual world, of what it's like there, and the rasas, that relationships that one can have with God. And we have all the wrong knowledge before about the spiritual world. If we had any knowledge about the spiritual world through Christianity or something, it was that God is an old man with a beard, not very attractive, is it? And then he really sort of hates us, because we're so materialistic. And he throws fire and brimstone and just punishes us. And if you don't surrender to someone like Jesus, then he'll send you to hell forever and throw away the key. And that's it. You got one chance, and then you're a goner. It's eternal damnation if you miss the boat in this life. And it's not very attractive. People, if at the most, people are going to be afraid of God at the most, and love for God is very far away like that. But when you get this real knowledge about what God's really like and what the spiritual world's really like, and then we hear that, and what's the spiritual world like? It's just light. It's just light. Just everything is just light. There's only one thing. It's just light. Put up your hand if you're attracted to that. That sounds pretty boring, but when you hear about, Krishna's having rasa lila and stealing butter and yogurt, it sounds pretty romantic and pretty funny. And, it's very attractive. And he's a beautiful, always young, Nava Yovana. He never gets old. He's always youthful, even though he's the oldest person, but he's always young. And he's so handsome, so attractive. Even if Krishna stands on a rock, the rock melts. Did you know that? Even Lord Caitanya, when he was traveling throughout India for 6 years, when he would go into a temple and fall down in ecstasy in front of, some form of Krishna, the stone would melt under his body. You can go to India today, you can go to some temples today in India and see that stone floor that were melted under Lord Chaitanya's body. You can see where his knees and his elbows and his head was, because the rock melted. That's how ecstatic personality is that he can even melt stone. What to speak of our hearts? What to speak of melting our heart? But he can even melt stone. So even if we have a stone-like heart, he can melt that too. So, but the important thing is to be hearing about these things. So it's in answer to your question, yeah, it's very important. Even you might think I'm a zillion light years away from, developing pure love of God or whatever. That doesn't matter. We need to hear about these things, and then we'll start to go in that direction. Make steps towards developing love for God. It's so important, and we all need role models, and we try to become, isn't it, like our role model, like that. So, Jayanti?
And that's actually, it's quite funny that Bhaktimala asked that question, because I was just thinking, this is going way over my head.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember any of this. And how is it really going to help me? Okay, I know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I'm happy with that. And I was just thinking, I mean, yeah, it's true what you're saying, that we want to hear about God and everything, but I guess because, you know, materially we're trained so much into when we're learning something, it's almost like, oh, we have to retain this in such a way that we can
Mm,
answer questions back, and we have to get like we need to remember everything, and
yeah,
but yeah, I'm surely not going to remember this next week, and I'm but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable to hear all this,
yeah,
but
mm,
yeah, and I
yeah,
guess that's why they say you keep hearing so that you remember.
yeah.
But
And Smaranam is the third process, so that's not in the beginning. So beginning is Shravanam, then Kirtanam, third one, Vishnu Smaranam. So yes, Smaranam comes later. Don't worry about that, but just keep on hearing. Keep on hearing, and then you keep on hearing, and then whatever you've heard, then you tell it to somebody. And then that's kirtan. And then by telling it to somebody, like I'm telling it to all you now, and it's helping me remember. So my remembering is going very well because I'm doing kirtan. So I'm telling you, I'm talking to you about it. So then it helps me to remember like that. Even materially, it's well known. If you want to remember any subject, then you should tell it to somebody. Whatever you've learnt, then go and tell it to somebody, and that'll help you to remember it. And in one sense, it has absolutely no importance, in the beginning at least, for us to remember what we've heard. But you just go on hearing, because just like the name of God is identical with God, these words of God, because this Caitanya Charitamrita Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita, this is God in the form of sound vibration. These words, every word is fully spiritual. So we're actually getting purified just by hearing the subject matter. Just like if you hear Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, then you're getting purified by that sound vibration. And in the same way, just by hearing Shantira Gunadasya Ache Adhikara Sevana Atevadasya Rasira Edoi Guna, then whether it's in Bengali or if you read the English on the Dasya Rasa platform, then we're getting purified by hearing these spiritual sound vibrations. So we're getting purified. And I remember one Prabhupada disciple, he said how he became to Krishna consciousness. He picked up a book which is high level philosophy, also which is a summary of the Caitanya Charitamrita, called Teachings of Lord Caitanya, which is a summary of the five main chapters, subjects of the Caitanya Charitamrita. And this is one of the five main ones, the teachings to Rupa Goswami. So Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and he took it to a library and he couldn't put it down. He just read it from beginning to end, and he was just so attracted to it. But having read the whole book, he realized I didn't remember anything. I didn't understand, basically, I didn't understand anything and I didn't remember anything. But he was attracted to it. But he didn't actually know what he was attracted to. But he just wanted to hear. So that's the main thing, to develop a taste for hearing and just go on hearing. And we should have faith that we're going to get purified by hearing. And then that will increase more if whatever you hear, you talk about it to others. And then that will lead to, remembering like that. And then while you're doing your IT work in the office or cleaning your house or whatever you're doing, then you'll be remembering, all those subjects that you had heard about and talked about slowly, slowly. And I heard Prabhupada was saying that today. Then while you're doing your worldly activities, you'll be remembering him more. But that's only going to happen if you've before that, you've been hearing and chanting, and then, remembering will come, like that. So when the gopis are milking, when the gopis are churning the yogurt and the cowherd boys are going out milking, with the cows and stuff like that, they're remembering Krishna because they've been doing so much hearing and chanting about Krishna, then they just naturally remember Krishna. But if we're too weak and we hardly hear anything about Krishna and we hardly chant anything about talk about Krishna, then what do you expect? Then you're not going to remember much. But you just got to increase it. Like, when I was a brahmachari, I used to attend like 2 classes a day, like 2 hours hearing classes a day. Then I'd read probably 1 hour at least a day. And then I'd distribute books. And when you're distributing books, you're talking about Krishna. So that was about 8 hours a day. So that was like 11 hours a day. And you're just hearing about Krishna and talking about Krishna. And then, of course, you've got 2 hours chanting. So that's 13 hours. So then that hearing and chanting, then you remember more. So it just depends, how fast, how slow do you want to go? But at least stay this 1 hour where you might not remember anything from the 1 hour, but at least it kept you away from social media for 1 hour. Like that,
Well,
from some.
I do enjoy hearing about all of this. I was just,
I know.
curious
I'm just,
because
yeah, I know.
because I've only really studied the Bhagavad Gita too, and then
Yeah.
there's parts of that are, when they talk about all the wonderful qualities of a pure devotee and things, and you're like, oh, geez, like I'm never going to get there, and you. You read all about the modes, the different modes, and you're like, oh, okay. But it is helpful because then you can realize where you want to go, like where you are situated and where you'd like to be situated. So yeah, this is all just new to me because I haven't read this before. So
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah,
But just know
yeah,
it's purifying, just like
yeah,
medicine. You don't even know what it is, but it's gonna
yeah.
cure you like that. Opposite to what Jayanti said, that materially, if you don't, remember the subject, then you failed. But this is not like that. Even you don't remember anything, you're still successful because you have been hearing these vibrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you're basically injecting Krishna into yourself, so and you become purified. You become purified. And that will lead to further mercy of Krishna. Krishna's pleased, just like here it's saying that when the Dasya Bhakta renders service to Krishna, then he's happy. He's constantly happy. So, Krishna's constantly happy with the 5 of us that we're doing this service because this is service to Krishna. What we're doing, like I'm chanting with kirtan, that's service. And you're doing Shravanam, that's service. So, and if there's a bit of remembering also happens, that's also more service. So it's all service. So, this is giving happiness. So is that a failure? Is that loss? No, that's success. That's complete success. So if for 1 hour, we've given pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That us little Kali Yugarites, have given pleasure to the Supreme Person of Godhead. And that's why Prabhupada worked so hard to give us these books. He was staying up all night to give us these books, knowing that they would purify us. So his only criticism was of his disciples was that you don't read my books. He said you think my books are just for distribution, because that's what they were doing, distributing the books. But he said, I wrote these books for my disciples to read. Because in the early days, they were very busy distributing the books, but they had no time to read the books, like most of the devotees. But Prabhupada was actually wanted the devotees to read the books too, not just distribute the books. And he said, if you're distributing the books and someone asks you what's in the book, and you say, I don't know, I just distribute them, then how's that going to work? So no, we should read the books, and they're very, very purifying. Like that devotee that read that book, Teachings of Lord Caitanya, went right over his head, but he became attracted, and that's how he joined. That's how he joined the movement, was by receiving that book and reading the book. That purified him. And then the next step was that he met devotees, and he joined the movement. He was became a Prabhupada disciple, Brugapati. And he's the first devotee that taught me how to distribute books. And Prabhupada gave him a personal instruction. He said, if you distribute these books for the rest of your life, I guarantee at the end of this life, you'll go back home, back to Godhead. And to this day, he distributes books. So that's like 50 years. So that instruction, he took that to heart. Prabhupada ordered him to distribute books for the rest of his life. So he's doing that. So probably till the day he dies, he'll be distributing books. And he does that in Los Angeles, which is a very hard place, a very hard place with very materialistic people there. But he does really good, like that. He does really good.
Thank you.
That's all right. No, I'm glad you brought up that question. Very good question. But yeah, even you think you're not remembering much, but you should know that it's giving happiness to Krishna. And because Krishna's happy with your service, then you're going to become purified. And if you become purified, then you're going to be happy. That's the thing. So the more you make Krishna happy, the more we're going to become happy as a byproduct. Automatically that will happen. Materialistic people are always thinking how I can become happy, but they never actually become happy. The more we try to become happy, the further away happiness is. But when you actually stop trying to be happy and or forget about trying to be happy and just try to make Krishna happy, then we actually become happy. And that's my experience. And that's how it works. You just try, the devotee his only goal is to make Krishna happy. He doesn't care about his own happiness. Just tries to make Krishna happy. And just by doing that, then automatically the devotee becomes happy. Because Krishna is so pleased by his service, and then he blesses the devotee with happiness in all respects. Anyone want to say anything about that, or we go on to the next one?
Yeah, I was
Narendra?
just wondering. I mean, the purpose of this probably can be, because Krishna, you want to connect with Krishna in any way you like. I mean, he's got relationship, different rasas. And the other advantage I can think of is he's giving you the options, if you don't want to be a dasa. Because, say, for example, you were born in a family where everyone was a devotee and they were like, treating God like your friend. So you would be doing, because we have been brought up in a situation where, Krishna consciousness. So there is a process. So it's like, when you were a kid, you were in a certain kind of culture and thing where you are taught something and then you learn that and you're doing thing. And exactly same with the Krishna consciousness, because you've been taught a process, so you're following it. But you know the story of a cow, calf acting like a dog, just kind of. So whatever you are taught at the start, you will be. So we are told bhakti, Krishna conscious process. But what about people who are taught differently, like people in Vrindavan, the men actually wearing women's dress and dancing, and some women as men carrying Krishna with him. I mean, it also allows you to appreciate people. It's not just one way of doing bhakti.
Hmm.
There are different ways, and it can help. Somebody is in, say, Shantrasa, and you
Hmm.
can identify that, then you
Hmm.
can help, or guide them or something. So
Hmm.
I think there is, the underline is, connect with me any way which it's which way you like. You want connect in Sringas Ras, yes, Sakyaras. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Hmm. I mean, one warning I would put with that, it's not like, I want to associate with Krishna whichever way I like, but it should be fitting within an authorized process. So we have to be careful about that, not introducing our own material desires and mental speculation, because that's where we're coming from, is we're coming from material desires and we're coming from mental speculation, which is karma and jnana. So that's a disease we have. So we
The
have
thing,
to be careful to follow the authorities. Krishna is the ultimate authority. And then we have the different acharyas and spiritual teachers in the scriptures and that. So we have to work along those guidelines. There's one verse by one of the Goswamis saying, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vidimvana Aikantake Harir Bhaktir Utpatiyai Vikalpate, which that means that devotional service that does not follow the authorized scriptures like the Shrutis and Smritis and Puranas simply creates a disturbance in society. So like that, you might think, oh, I'm doing devotional service. That's wonderful. But if it's not according to the rules and regulations, like you mentioned, I'm going to dress up, I'm in a man's body, I'm going to dress up as a girl and like that, then and dance with others in the nighttime, imitating Krishna's Rasalila. That's actually not authorized. And you might think you're doing devotional service, but actually that could be a ticket to hell. That could be a ticket, especially if there's unwanted children that are born, it becomes a romantic thing and there's unwanted children or whatever, then that person could have a ticket to hell. And those persons are called sahaja. So sahaja means, they people that take it very cheaply, that take these rasas and that very cheaply, and then they make it very mundane, just like the affairs, the ordinary mundane affairs of a boy and a girl. They turn Radha and Krishna's pastimes like that, Krishna and the gopis, to like an ordinary affair between boys and girls, which is aparad. That's an offense. So yeah, it's not just, well, any way we like to do it, you can do it. No, not really. It has to be within these authorized ways like that, following the ways of the authorities. So it's like Prabhupada said, actually, spiritual life's like a razor's edge. Just like when a man is shaving, if you're a bit careless, inattentive, then you can cut yourself very easily with a sharp razor like that. So actually, it's very important that we follow these guidelines of the higher authorities and not just concoct our own way. There's so many different organizations, even of Vaishnavas. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like two to 300 years ago, he was 200 years ago, he was so upset by all these concoctions of Vaishnav philosophy that had popped up. And after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left, so many deviant, processes of Vaishnava, what Vaishnavism was had popped up, and they were just not authorized and completely concocted ways of doing things. Even they changed the mantras, just changed the mantras. So I think we'll mix this mantra with that mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Radhe Shyam, Gaura Hari. Just make up anything, just mix it all
If
together.
someone
And what's that?
if someone has, they have faith and they are saying, for example, somebody, a girl, she is carrying Krishna, she's got really, I mean, she is faithful, and then she
Yeah,
understands she, doing it because she really loves Krishna and she's doing
yeah,
everything around. I understand people have different motive behind it, that's wrong.
yeah.
People who have real devotion, devotion
But
is
what,
like,
yeah, but what you're explaining, like the girl carrying Bal Gopal in a basket, that
yeah,
is authorized. That's Pusti Marg. So that's another part, Pusti Marg. So that's
yeah,
following Vallabhacharya. So he's an acharya, Vallabhacharya, and so Vallabhacharya is teaching people to develop that relationship with Bal Gopal. So and that Vatsalya ras. So he's helping people to develop that parental relationship with Krishna. So that's authorized following Vallabhacharya. But, having these boys and girls dressing up like Krishna and the gopis and then ending up having sex and abortions is not authorized at
I'm not
all.
talking about, people who are
Yeah,
dancing. They're not doing all those things. People who are basically dressing up. It's at the body level, but spiritually
yeah.
they think they are in connection within Sringaras with Krishna, right? They can be. So they are acting out using the body.
Yeah,
But
let's see.
internally,
Let's see that there's no sex, and let's see
yeah,
there's no sex, and
I
then
mean, like
then
they are
let's see. Yeah,
Krishna. They feel like they are Radha or something else. What
yeah,
we are looking at is physical level. We are saying this is a man, why he's dressing like a woman? But internally,
yeah.
he's connected like that to her. But otherwise, there's no point of explaining all the rasas, Shringas ras and Vatsalya ras, if we
No,
can't,
there is a point, but not that we can practice it right
can't
here
follow,
now. Yeah.
then there's no point of that, right? It's not
No,
only,
there is. There is. There is. Very much there is.
you are saying that if people don't have nishtha, don't have,
Yeah,
if they are just
yeah,
taking bal for the sake of showing up other people, that's
yeah,
wrong. But
yeah,
if I have the connection, if I
yeah.
have the connection, if I have the connection as Radha or whatever, the man has connection, then it's all right. I mean, we shouldn't be looking at the body level. Do you think we should be looking at the body level? It's the spiritual
No,
connection.
we shouldn't. But
Spirit,
those people that
there-
are performing those pastimes, are they beyond the body level?
yeah, I mean, if you are doing it
If they
wrongly,
are, very good. If
it's
they've,
a
if they've,
that.
yeah.
But if you are spiritually, you are connected in that rasa.
Hmm.
Do you think that's wrong?
No, but I mean, see, you're in the material body. You can't imitate
But
the
you're not the
spiritual
body.
body.
You're not
You know,
the body.
like
They
it.
are in a level where they are outside body. They don't think I'm a man or a woman. It's just a body. It's just
Is that really? You
spirit.
sure? Are you
On
sure?
maybe there is a connection for
Maybe.
people.
Okay, there's a difference between
Maybe
sure and maybe. Yeah.
no. Maybe what I'm saying is that
Mm,
from previous life they wanted to be like that. So they are
mm,
spiritually they are connected in that particular rasa. So I mean the point of explaining that different rasa,
mm,
what is that? I
mm,
mean that goes back to Bhaktimala's question. What is the point of all these rasas then? If we
mm.
if we can't do anything, or what's the purpose? As you said,
No, we
we
can,
hear,
but
hear
there's a
about
very important word. There's a very important word called adhikar. Adhikar means eligible. You've got to be eligible to engage in a particular service. So if you're eligible, very good. But if you're still your heart is full of calm, which means lust, and lobha, which means greed, and krodha, which means anger,
motivation,
and
your
matsarya means
motivation.
envy, then it's not going to work. So first of all, Prabhupada's point is, first of all, get free from lust, get free from greed, get free from envy, free from pride, and then let's talk about, about Madhurya Rasa and things like that. So yeah, it's very important to have the adhikar, otherwise it's not going to work. If your heart's full of lust and then you're just dancing with the opposite sex in
No,
the middle of the night,
if your
then
motivation is wrong, that's not spiritual devotion. It's physical. That's what it is.
yeah, I mean you might have the best motivation when you start, but let me see what your motivation is when you're with, beautiful woman, I mean the opposite sex in the middle of the night, in a forest. What happens to your motivation? I'm going to tell you what, if you put a beautiful girl and a handsome man together alone in a solitary place like in a forest at night, let's see if they're going to do pure rasalila or it's just going to end up as illicit sex. Because it's very hard for a man to control his senses with beautiful women. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you what the scriptures say, that a man should not be in a solitary place with his mother, his
Daughter.
daughter, your mother, daughter, or sister, like that. Even to that point of own mother or daughter, like that in a solitary place, because there is a danger that the lust, arises. So the rules of the scriptures, you're not allowed to be alone. A man's not
But
allowed to be
I
alone
think that
like that.
back to the question. I think Bhaktimana raised. I mean, what's the point of learning
Mm.
Sringaras, what years, when you're not gonna use it, except that we are talking about God? Is that what you're saying? I mean, just talk about it. It doesn't have anything else. Just we are talking about God. Is that the only thing, or is there
It's
why?
no, well, it's we're developing our attraction for that life, but it's not that we imitate that life. See, there's a
No, no.
difference
I mean,
between.
if it happens naturally, yes. So it's a progression, or it's like which one is better? Is it a progression, or it's like you can have you can be in Vatsalyaras, you can be in Sringaras, you can be in Bhaktiras, you can be in, sorry, Dasyaras. So it's like are there some kind of a relationship, or you go through a process of going upwards. So you go become a Dasiras, and then you might be Vatsalya or Sringaras, or you can be straight away go into Sringaras or Das. I mean, different. So what's the point of back to the question? I mean, why we are learning that? Because we have been taught one way. So why we are
Hmm.
except the name we are taking name of the God. That's what
Yeah, yeah,
that's the only thing. And then
yeah.
what's the point of teaching that the gopi going in Sringaras and all those things? What's the point of, I mean, why God has put that in the scriptures? I mean, there must be a reason behind it, except not just the name
Yeah,
would
I know.
be.
I've explained what the reason is, that we need to develop an attraction to go back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. These pastimes are so attractive, so captivating. These pastimes are so captivating. So we hear about these pastimes and we think, I want to go there. I want to go to Goloka Vrindavan and dance with Krishna and herd the cows with Krishna and run
Yeah,
around feeding the monkeys with the butter and everything like that and decorate Krishna's and Radharani's face and things like that. So
I
that
think
we develop a desire.
I
But
think the
how
point,
we do,
yeah,
the point Narendra is probably making is that even in this world, there are people who might be, um, I mean, they may not really be imitating those
yeah,
paths or whatever, but they're actually feeling that kind of intense connection in those kind of relationships in this material world itself. And what I would like to say about that is, yes, there might be some very genuine people, and there might be nobody at all. Also, who knows, I mean, some people say actually Prabhupada himself was like a gopa, so he was having these kind of like he had sometimes he would say some things which would seem to suggest that he was a coward boy. Okay, so now, and that, but Prabhupada is a pure devotee, He's given us so much knowledge. He's taught us so much. So, but we're not getting into the speculation of whether he was a coward boy or not. Okay, but but the thing is, the main thing for us, I guess, as aspiring devotees, is that we have to be careful when we come across people who are um, expressing these kind of relationships, or this kind of intense understanding or connections that they are having with Krishna, whether they are dressed up as a gopi, or I mean, a man dressed up as a gopi or whatever. Because if we don't use our discrimination with these kind of people, we could actually get sucked into something completely wrong, and which is not within the scripture. So I
Yeah, I
guess
mean,
who are
Yeah, I
trying to make
mean,
that's
look, I mean,
yeah.
you were talking about the lady that carries around Bal Gopal in a basket, and I said that's authorized.
I just
That lady is dealing with Bal Gopal, right? There's no harm coming out of that. That lady is serving Bal Gopal. But you talking about a completely different scenario. If you're going to get men and women dressing up as Krishna and the gopis, where's Krishna in that equation? Where is pleasing Krishna in that equation? In that equation is only the men and women pleasing themselves. It's purely sense gratification. Where is Krishna? If it's just you've got a deity of Krishna and you're dressing up as a gopi, I mean, go for it. But not another
human being.
living entity in a human body. You know, it's just between me and Krishna. That's the rasa, not between me and this girl. Dressing up as
I
Radha and
was
Krishna
I
and
was
dancing
talking
in the night.
Even this
I was
boy,
talking about dancing in the temple. I've seen that, but I know that is
Okay.
whether they are genuinely Krishna devotee or
If
not.
you if
My
it's a
thing with
drama, if it's a
my
drama for the pleasure of the
no,
devotees,
you can't say
yeah,
drama for everyone. Somebody
yeah,
might be really, you know, real Krishna Bhakt, and he's feeling something, and he's saying. So we can't judge from just looking at somebody. Say, oh, he's just making up story and he's doing it. Maybe he's a different kind of. He's already spiritually connected. So we shouldn't be. I think we shouldn't be judging anybody, and that's where it comes. I think that the point is people might connect with Krishna in different ways. We should be all respectful and more. If he's doing wrong, Krishna is looking at him. If he's got bad thing in his heart, he will be punished. I mean, he'll go through it. But from our perspective, we look at that he's doing something. We should. I think. I mean, maybe not, but I think I will look him as okay, identify that he likes Krishna, and in this way he's fine. He wants to do it. He's genuine or not, I don't care, but he's doing it right. He's doing something. But if he's genuine, that's very good. I mean, and the other thing I was thinking is that somebody is in, say, Shantarasa, and
mm,
you recognize that he's in a Shantarasa, probably you can help him,
mm,
or maybe learn from him. I don't know. So you can. It helps you to actually allow you to see people around you, devotee, different types of devotee are there. They can connect in different ways to God. That's the point. I mean, yes, bhakti is the topmost. You cannot go beyond that, but there are other ways as well, I think. And that's why Krishna is explaining why telling all those gopis, and then there are sakhas, these cowherd boys. Why telling, yes, only bhakti should be, just tell us about bhakti. But uh, so that people can be in different ways. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm speculating, but that's what I think is that God wants you to come if you have sincere. I'm not talking about insincere people, but people who are sincere, they can connect with Him anyways. So it's just avenue. It's not just you have to follow one process. There are people. I give example of what's Gulshan's mom. She still carries Bal Gopal. She carries everywhere.
yeah. Like I
She
said, that's authorized by Vallabhacharya. Yeah, as
since
long as it's authorized, then there's no
yeah.
problem. But it
So
should
it's
not
like
be
yeah,
concocted,
I mean,
because
can't do what you're saying, man, woman going in dog and not following. It's not actual. There's
mm,
no Krishna in there. It's just
mm,
imitating. That's
mm.
not real Sringar. That's on material level, I think.
Because, I mean, if you're talking about serving God, it has to be serving according to what God wants, right? Otherwise, it's not service. Like one
Yeah,
one man
that's
was one Indian man was very proud that before he ever drinks tea, he always puts tulsi in it. So his attitude was good. His attitude was brilliant. He was
uh-huh.
wanting to please God, thinking that tulsi is very dear to God, so let me put it in my tea. But what he doesn't know, because his knowledge is not complete, that God doesn't want him to drink tea. So that is that bhakti. His attitude was favorable, so that's half of it. But the other half is that what you're doing should be pleasing to God. And that wasn't the case.
Yeah, but it,
So that's a very
yeah.
important element in developing a relationship with God. What service you're doing should be what God wants. Otherwise, it's not real service.
So in case of
You know,
cowherd
if
boy,
if if you've got diabetes and I think I want to serve Narendra, I'm going to bring him a cake on his birthday, and but it's not good for you and you don't want to eat it. So was that service? My attitude was good. I want to give you something nice to eat. But I should consider what do you want first? So what does Krishna actually want from us? What service does he want? You have to serve a person according to what they want, not according to what the way you want to serve them.
so that's why I think he has given rest. So for example, cowherd boys, he's not serving them. He's playing with them. He's getting on top of his, as you
Hmm,
said, on his shoulders and all those things.
hmm.
Is that not service? It's just a different kind of service. He
It
just
is,
want
it is. And he
different.
wants that. He wants that.
Yeah. So
He
I mean,
wants that.
so you can connect
Yeah.
to him in different ways. That's if we are genuinely
But
God.
see, we're talking about a relationship that's happening in the spiritual world, and you're talking about what we're doing in the material world. They're two different things.
So
You
you're saying
can't do you can't do what's being done in the spiritual world. You can't do that here.
so.
It's separate.
Yeah, yeah, I
You
understand.
can't merge it all together. It's not one. It's two. You're talking about two different places.
Then
And what is
what's
done
the
in the
point
spiritual
of
world,
talking
you
about?
can't do that here.
So what's the point of talking about everything? All gopis and sakhas and Mother Yasoda and all
Because
those
we want
rasa.
to go there. We want to go there. And you're not going to want to go there unless you hear about how good it is.
But
But you
you can
can't
do
start doing
out.
those things now.
Yeah.
You can't.
But if you want to connect him with in a certain rasa in the
Yeah.
spiritual as well, what do you need to do? I mean, if you don't do it here, what are you going to do up there? Yeah,
What we need to do now, right now, what we need to do is not think we're going to jump on Krishna's back or dance with Krishna in the night or whatever, we're Krishna's mum and dad. What we need to do right now is serve Krishna according to what he wants. And what he wants is us to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He wants us to follow the four regulated principles. And he wants us to hear about his name and qualities and pastimes and so forth, as in these books. That's what he wants. He doesn't want us to imitate cowherd boys, his mother and father, his girlfriends, cowherd girls. Doesn't want us to imitate the peacocks or the cows or whatever like that in the spiritual world, but he just wants us to follow these authorized directions, to be hearing about his pastimes and chanting his names and serving the devotees, offering our food and so forth like that. That's what he wants. And what we want could be completely different. But if we genuinely are sincere and we want to develop our relationship with Krishna, we have to do it we have to consider, what does Krishna want me to do now? And then, what Krishna wants me to do when I go back to the spiritual world could be completely different. And like I said, when we go back to the spiritual world, we might completely forget also that he's God. And then he's just our best friend, and we're just hanging out with him, playing games or, dancing, and then it's completely different. But now we have to consider we're in a material body, full of anarthas like lust, greed, and anger, and envy and pride, and you can't be, acting on the platform of someone that doesn't have any of those problems and has a spiritual body a spiritual body, a spiritual mind, and doesn't have any lust and greed, and so you can't merge those two different personalities.
So what he's saying is that you have to have knowledge before you actually go into that, So kind of progression is there. I think you need to get the knowledge before getting onto those particular type of rasas, because then you understand it's in a right way. That's what you're saying. That
Yeah,
you have to
definitely.
first have the knowledge, the basic knowledge which comes from bhakti yoga.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you go, when you have the right knowledge, then you can progress that thing in spiritual world. Is that
yeah,
you
yeah,
say?
definitely, definitely, definitely.
But there are also examples, of course, of their, devotees who didn't who didn't have that knowledge, but they just had faith in the
Yeah,
word guru, or they just, yeah, basically faith in the words of the guru, and they progressed, and went back to Godhead too. I mean, um,
I
so
have. Yeah. I've seen people who doesn't know anything. They are so focused on God. If you say anything about anything wrong to them about God, they will like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. And they don't have detailed knowledge like we are talking about detail. They are
Hmm. Hmm.
the faith is so strong.
Hmm.
You say them slightly XY, they will say, don't talk to me about God like that. I've seen that.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's no knowledge there, but it's like they have somehow got that feedback from God, or something, or maybe it's previous lives, his
Hmm.
karmas. I don't.
Hmm.
Maybe they have kind of a faith where it's like, I know he's gonna help me. That's it. I don't want to know all this, XYZ, what is happening, what is spiritual world, and you just
Yeah.
focus that. How do I explain that? I mean, how do we explain that kind
Hmm.
of a faith?
Hmm. Hmm.
Faith, just blind that he's gonna. But I think that's where it
Yeah, but
starts.
there's the danger of blind faith that we might become a fanatic on one side,
Yeah,
or
that's
we might become a sentimentalist on the other. So you talked about some sentimentalists, but on the other side, you could become a fanatic. And both
all.
both sides of that blind faith are dangerous.
Yeah,
That if you don't have that knowledge like that.
yeah. I think they can fall down. Yes, they can make
Yeah.
mistakes more often. Yeah.
Hmm.
But
So yeah, I mean
but
you can, but it's risky to go down that path. It's risky. It's
mm,
best to have knowledge. Best to have knowledge. And sometimes our faith might get shaken. Like imagine if your partner just dies tomorrow or something, or you find out tomorrow you've got cancer or something, and you say, "What? Why, God, did you do that?" And then you lose your faith. Or why God's taken away my partner or stuffed up my health, and now I don't believe in God anymore. Like Prabhupada tells, in the Second World War, all the women went to the church because their husbands and sons and brothers went to war, so they all went to the church to pray for their family members to come home, and most of them didn't come home. So what happened to them going to church after that? They stopped. You didn't bring my father, my husband, my son home. Well, I don't believe in you anymore. So that's the danger of blind faith. Like that. As long as things are working out, it's okay. But what if it doesn't work out? Then you lose faith. So it's
yeah,
definitely better to have knowledge. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very good the subject came up. It's a very interesting subject. Everyone's very animated. Everyone's very excited and animated. That's good. You're not falling asleep or anything like that. So that's good.
that question raised by Bhakti Mala was good. I mean,
Yeah.
I never thought that perspective, that why we are learning. So it's like going deeper into it and understanding. It may be used later on, and it's kind of a progression. You can't go into Shringaras from start on. I mean, maybe somebody, but they might have previous lives, karma or
Yeah.
something that we see them that they are directly into it, but not that. They might have gone gone through the process, bhakti and then dasi, and then they might have, gone on different vatsalya or whatever. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. But that question was
These,
good.
yeah, these kind of rasas are revealed to us by
Mm.
Krishna when he's pleased by our service, like our chanting. And you can be cleaning the temple, washing the pots, and then he might reveal to you who you are in the spiritual world, because we have an eternal swarupa, constitutional position. So it's already there in a seed form in our heart that we're a cow or a peacock or a gopi or a cowherd boy or whatever we are, mum or dad or whatever like that. That's already there. But there's nothing you can do to find that out. You can't practice that. I'm gonna start dancing like a gopi, and maybe I'll figure out that I'm a cow. No, you don't figure it out. That Krishna's just revealed. But you could be just cleaning Krishna's pots, and Krishna just one day reveals it to you that you're a cow in the spiritual world. So it's nothing you can find out. You can't read in a book or who Jayanti is in the spiritual world. You can't, there's nothing you can do, to make that come. Just what you can do is just try to please Krishna, and when he's pleased, then he reveals who you are and everything. But even that information, if you find out you're a cow in the spiritual world, what are you going to start mooing around or something? And no, you can moo. No, you can't. This is all going to be practiced when you're back in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Now we're in a human body. You have to act as a human being, as a male or as a female, like that, as a family man, a brahmachari, grihastha, sannyasi, or whatever like that, according to Varna and Ashrama, like that. But develop your attraction for the spiritual world. These different rasas are there. There's so much variety. We're all attracted to variety. So it's good you hearing about this variety. It sounds like such a beautiful place, and there's no factories, no offices there.
But it
You
can be
don't have to
confusing.
work.
Hmm?
The variety can be confusing as well. It's too much. You're getting too much information. So why? I mean, that's another question. Because in Kali Yuga, we don't have that kind of mati. You don't have that kind of intelligence. So if you give too much information, then you're likely to get confused. That's what is happening. I think we look at so many things, and we can't, just handle it. So what we need, as you said, I mean, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, just do the mantra. I mean, simple. Don't go into
Yeah,
another.
yeah. And
That
Prabhupada said that there was some of his disciples that they weren't very philosophical. So Prabhupada just said, yeah, you just chant Hare Krishna. But others that are philosophical, that do have questions, that are sort of Gyani types, that we have so much. Prabhupada said, I've got 80 books for you. If you have so many questions and you're searching for knowledge, I've got 80 books for you to read. And even that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's in the Vedas, there's so many more. So yeah, whatever you want, if you're not very philosophical, yeah, just chant Hare Krishna.
yes,
However, I would say it is more safer to have this knowledge, because that can protect you in all these, Maya is bombarding us in so many ways. Then this knowledge is going to help us to keep strong faith. Faith based on knowledge is going to be more secure. And also, like I said, developing our attraction. There's very, sweet pastimes of Krishna. And yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of things. I really don't feel as an overload. To me, it doesn't really seem like an overload. I'm not saying I remember everything I've heard, but yeah, I don't really see it as an overload.
see, I
I
mean,
mean,
everyone.
what I learned when I was at school, I found that a lot of that was an overload. But hearing about Krishna, I never feel like it's an overload, even though I don't remember it all. It's just enjoyable to hear about. Like I said, that devotee that read the teachings of Lord Caitanya, he didn't understand hardly anything, but he was attracted to it. He couldn't put it down. He couldn't stop. So there's something about it, the subject matter, that's very attractive. You want to hear about, but you're not necessarily you can comprehend everything. That doesn't really matter. But the main thing is you're attracted. And if you're attracted to hearing about these things, do you think Krishna will be pleased?
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
I have another question. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as in the form of, I mean, in the, what you call it, the bhav of Gopi. Now, how do you explain that? Gopi is female, right? Gopi, you're saying Gopi.
Yes.
Why
Yep.
why he came in that? Why did we say that? Why did we say that?
Hmm.
What is important there? I mean, in terms of, is it the bhav or is the form? I mean,
In
that's
dress up a woman.
Yeah, he never, that's one point. He never dressed up as a woman. But yeah,
but yeah,
yep.
woman. But
So
internally,
why?
we say that
Yep.
bhav was like a gopi.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct,
Doesn't
correct.
matter what clothes you wear. Internally, I mean, it's for you may not like me
Yeah.
wearing a woman's dress, or I may not like you wearing a men's
But
dress.
you do you know
Internally,
what is the meaning of gopi? Do you know what is the meaning of gopi? I'll tell you what is the meaning of gopi.
what is
Means
gopi? Yeah?
completely surrendered to Krishna. Means they don't give a stuff about their personal happiness. That's gopi. That means even if it gives them so much suffering to serve Krishna, they're prepared to do that. Like when Krishna called them with the flute, when they left, as soon as they walk out the door of their house, guaranteed they have to suffer. But they don't care. As long as I can please Krishna, let me go to hell. I don't care. That's gopi. So that's the bhav, that's the mood of the gopi. It's not what they dress or whatever, how they wear. It's that mood that you completely surrender to Krishna. You are prepared to go to any extent to give happiness to Krishna, even if it gives me misery. But if it gives my misery, gives happiness to Krishna, then that's my real happiness.
So if
That is
somebody,
gopi. It's
if
nothing to do with wearing a sari and putting makeup on, or that's not what gopi means. Gopi means that full surrender to pleasing Krishna without any personal consideration. Nothing. If I have to get punished, if I have to suffer, if I get scolded, if I get rejected by society, I don't care. I just have to please Krishna.
so you know that gopis had real great conviction, the faith they had. If you know somebody
Hmm.
who dresses it wrongly, I mean, he's not normal, but you know that his bhav is right. He doesn't care about what he's wearing. How would you treat in the material world? How you would you treat that kind of a person? Would you say that he's a thing? But you know that he's a genuine Krishna conscious person. He doesn't care about
No,
anything.
if it's in a man's body and he's dressing up as a woman, he's sentimental. He doesn't have knowledge. He's
No, no,
sentimental.
he's dressing. He's not like Sukadev Goswami. You take, he doesn't. I think when he born, he was without clothes. He doesn't care about anything. What we
Yeah,
say
he
to
didn't
him.
wear clothes because he's realized he's not the body. He's on the spiritual platform.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. I mean, there are yogis that wander around naked in the Himalayas and things like that, but they're not walking around Delhi or Calcutta or Mumbai. They're walking in the Himalayas. They're away from materialistic people. If someone's doing that in Delhi or Calcutta or Mumbai, it's because they're trying to attract attention. They're trying to attract attention
But
if they're
if
doing it in
somebody
public.
someone is genuine, he doesn't care. He just will say, I care about God only." Then how do you differentiate? I mean,
Well,
somebody who
Prabhupada said, I'll tell you what Prabhupada said, how you tell if they're real or not. When they're doing all these things and rolling on the ground in ecstasy, you kick them in the face. Kick them in the face. And then and then he said, if they don't do anything, you know they're genuine. And if they get up and protest, hey, stop kicking me, then you know they're a rascal like that. So he was semi-joking. But it's true that he knew that most of them that are doing it in public place, they're doing it to attract attention. Because they know people think, oh, this is a big bhakta, this is a real bhakta, and they'll worship the person. And that they know these, because the masses of people are completely naive. They know the masses of people are completely sentimental and naive. And there's another sentimental person, is a cheap way to get adoration from the
so
public
you're saying that
by
all the
pretending to
people,
be like a gopi or something.
Hmm?
most of them
But
are
Prabhupada said like that. If you see someone rolling on the ground in ecstasy or whatever, kick them on the face. because he knew that 99.9% of them are going to be cheaters. 99.9% in Kali Yuga. I mean, this is Kali Yuga, remember, it's not Satya Yuga. In that case, it probably was 99% pure devotees, but this is Kali Yuga. And those real 0.01% that are real bhaktas, they're not in the city in public. They're in a place that you're never going to see them. And they're naked, yeah, because they'd forgotten about their body. But yeah, most of them are crooks, I tell you. Most of them are crooks.
And that's
But
why
whatever, let them do whatever they want, but I don't have to think about them. You know, I don't have to, and I don't have to follow them. And that's the worst thing, to follow them, you know, because, and that's not an authorized process. Nowhere is that authorized. I mean, what you said, the lady carrying Balgopal in a basket, that's authorized. But that's, like I said, between us, and we've got Krishna there, but not men and women interacting like we're Krishna and the gopis. Nowhere, no process is recommending that. So yeah, we have to have some discrimination. Mm.
yeah, that's what I was saying, discrimination.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think, Narendra, you know, like he did, Lord Chaitanya didn't just come back as a gopi, he came back as Radharani to experience.
Okay.
He wanted to, Krishna wanted to find out, what was it, how Radharani feels about him, or
Yeah,
why
three
she
things,
worships
three
him.
different things about
Yeah.
Radharani. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so
What?
that's the mood that he came back in. That's why he was golden too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Radharani's color is golden color, so
Yeah,
he came in the
yeah,
color of Radharani, but also try to see from Radharani's
Yeah. The
view
power.
rather than his view.
Just
What, you
attracting.
know, he's thinking, Krishna's thinking, why does Radharani love me so much? He can only work that out if he's in Radharani's position. What is it about? What is it about me that attracts Radharani so much? Why is Radharani more happy than me? You know, he's saying, I'm the supreme enjoyer, right? God's the supreme enjoyer. But Krishna can see that Radharani is more enjoying more in her relationship of serving him. She's more happy than he is. So he can't understand that unless he takes her form, her position.
Or he's doing for us rather than he doesn't know, or he doing us for us, because God knows everything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's
And he's
irrelevant.
also, yeah, he's
That's a
also doing it to teach us
yeah.
how to be a devotee, because, and who's the best devotee is Radharani. So that's God in the mood of his best devotee, Radharani, showing us by example how to be a devotee. So what was Lord Chaitanya always doing? Doing what a devotee does. He was always had his hands up, Hare Krishna, you know, and giving people prasadam and talking about Krishna and all these kind of things that a devotee does. He wasn't acting as God. He was acting as a devotee of God, and just happens the best devotee of God is Radharani. And also, he personally wanted to experience those three different things that he can't understand in his position as Krishna. So he has to take Radharani's position. So there's confidential reasons, which are those three things that Bhakti Mala indicated, why he came as in that form of Lord Chaitanya, and the external reasons. One is to, you know, show us how to be a devotee and spread the Sankirtan movement, chanting Hare Krishna. And the other external reason why he came is because Advaita Acharya was calling for him to come. So he was answering the calls of Advaita Acharya to come to the material world, and also as he wanted to spread the Hare Krishna chanting, and then those three confidential reasons, you know, it's like that. But yeah, he never dressed as a woman. And also because when he took sannyas, he never associated with women also. He's very strict sannyasi. He never had any intimate association with women ever. Never. He was never alone with a woman. Never ever. Like that. So
He had a wife, right? Or no?
yeah, two. His first one died. Lakshmi Priya died, and then he remarried Vishnu Priya. Both of them were incarnations of Lakshmi Devi, goddess of fortune. So they were completely transcendental. But yeah, he never had children. He never had children. And it's said that he never even joked around with his wife. He was always very serious. He never like joked around with his wife. Completely just service kind of relationship like that. And but yeah, they were the goddess of fortune, had incarnated as his wives. And yeah, but he never acted like a woman. He never acted like a gopi in terms of dressing and stuff like that. But acting as a devotee acts, chanting and dancing and everything like that, talking about Krishna, and yeah, teaching by example.
I think we are over time. Oh,
Yeah.
didn't think of.
That's all right.
Thank you.
It's good. It's good to
Thank
discuss
you.
these things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank
it's